Collapse of the financial system is guaranteed at this point. The Money GPS subscribers know this information, but many of our friends and families are unaware. Once we have the facts, we can inform them by sharing this information. Today, we'll discuss the collapse of America and 8 reasons how it could happen. Now, this is not a definitive list by any means. These are just some of the ways that this could happen. And now we go on in no particular order. Is US hyperinflation imminent? I want to discuss hyperinflation very briefly. You have central bank policies that are easy money, and of course that's not easy money to you, the individual, it's easy money to the banks. They're able to give out the low interest rates to the other banks, basically free money, and they are also inflating the currency out there. And that means that you will have more inflation. That means you will pay more at the store. Let's go on very quickly, not too much time. Russia and China join forces to kill the US dollar. Now, the US dollar has this crown right now as the reserve currency. However, that seems to be changing slowly, and it has been doing so increasingly now. You can see that Russia and China, other BRIC nations, they're all doing deals with each other and avoiding the US dollar. That could bring a significant collapse to the US, of course, by extension, the whole world. The colder war and the end of the petrodollar. Currently, the US, they have what they call the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia has to do trade with their oil in US dollars, and by extension, the US has to protect them, essentially use their military forces. And this is a trade that's been going on, and it has been doing very well for both parties. However, that seems to be changing a little bit. At least there's some rhetoric going on. If this does change, it will be a disaster for the US dollar. Let's go on here. US seeks nuclear war with Russia and China. And that is something that we've always been threatened with. However, things are heating up, especially as of late. And you can see that a nuclear war, it's pretty obvious, would be disastrous to the US and, of course, the rest of the world. Pentagon preparing for mass civil breakdown. There are many reasons why we could see mass civil unrest, mass civil breakdown. Most recent example being in St. Louis, Ferguson, and that was for one individual who was murdered. But this could mean for so many different reasons you could have mass civil breakdown. This will collapse the economy undoubtedly. Just when you have a small riot, it affects the way the stock market is. So imagine a full-scale breakdown. Massive GMO crop failure in the Philippines, something that the people in the finance sector just really don't talk about and think it's totally insignificant. However, on the Money GPS, although it is the Money GPS, I discuss everything I can. It all interrelates. You cannot avoid it. Imagine how disastrous it would be for food prices, for the whole economy as a whole, if you have these GMO failures that go on. When you have the entire corn crop being wiped out, essentially, that would mean a disaster for the whole world. The US economy could be really detrimental at that point if something happened. This is something that we need to worry about. Now, of course, we shouldn't even be using GMOs in the first place. However, this is the reality of the situation. Just one more thing I wanted to bring up. And of course, the derivatives. Why is nobody discussing this? It should be front page news every single day. It was the central theme of my book. Here it is. If you can't see it, it's too tiny. And that's the real assets. It's at the bottom. Then you have the fractional reserve banking, another fraud on top of that. And then you have the big thing at the top. That's the derivatives. And it is, if you allow me to scroll up here just for a moment, it is 1.5 quadrillion worth in derivatives exist. And this was at the time using the Biz as the source for that. That is a very reliable source. And of course, what I'm saying here is that there are 25 times more derivatives than there are real wealth in the whole world. If anything happens to derivatives at all, if it comes down just a percentage, it means more GDP than the whole world. This could collapse the system by far further than anything else. Let's go on here, and I really want to bring this out as one thing, but also how any of these things could lead to this, and that is the special drawing rights. That is the SDR, you may have heard of it. It's the IMF's own currency. It's being used right now, as a matter of fact. And this is something that is a digital currency, completely created, and it's really what seems to be the next monetary system. This really could be, or it could be a faction of this, so on and so forth. However, the IMF is gaining power as time goes on. They're able to dictate policy in other countries. They've been doing this in Greece. They've done it elsewhere as well. However, this is a big concern for me, that we can go on to a new monetary system. Of course, it is overdue. I see it getting worse and not better, unfortunately. They always provide a solution when there is a crisis. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And you've heard all these other sayings as well. This is a big concern, that we will go on a digital currency which is being totally manipulated by the system, much worse than even what we have today. Now, these are just some of the reasons why we could have a collapse in America, which could lead out to a collapse in the rest of the world. This is a big concern for me. I hope that you like this video. I hope that you will share this video with your friends and family. They need to know this information. Share it on your Facebook, your Twitter, everything you can. And of course, don't forget to become an insider. The insider is where the best intel is. Lots of information like this, and it's totally free. It's at themoneygps.com. You scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me.